Go ahead and call the Finance Committee meeting to order. We have 4 of the JP Finance Committee members present, which constitutes a quorum. We have 2 absent due to family illnesses. Got several things to run through right quick. One of the first things is that with the new software advent, our reports look different. And for those of you that opened them up and looked at them, Kelly, did you send both of them to everybody? Or? Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's one that's just kind of a budget summary thing. And that's the simplest to look at. Now, and I'm going to get Kelly to kick in and talk about these things with us just a little bit. But on the budget summary, they don't have everything imported from the first of the year. So it's kind of incomplete, but this is the one that will kind of compare to the old style expense report that would show the percent of funds used year to date. That was kind of one of the key guidelines I always used on the old reports, so that you were 25% through the year or 28% or whatever. But these are not accurate on this very initial report because they haven't had time to import everything over from the beginning of the year. But this will show the budget summary, and it'll show it by office and month-to-date expenditures, year-to-date expenditures, original budget, much like the last one, month-to-date percent used and year-to-date percent used. The difference in this, it's only 8 pages compared to the 115 plus that the old reports were, but that comes in on the other report that she sent in. And so for this month, the detailed report was 118 pages long, and it's a little different form and style. We'll look at it just a little bit, but Kelly talked about it just a little bit. I actually went through and just kind of made my own guideline, like where each elected official, county judge, his office was on page 1 through 3, the county clerk, page 4 through 7, circuit clerk 8 through 12, etc. Road department was 72 through 79, county jails 105 through 114. But it gives you each and every little check that was written. And so Kelly, in looking at this detailed report, is there there's nothing to me that identifies the office that it goes to. There's not a capitalistic headline up there that says like county judge's office or county clerk's office.
You just have to be familiar with the account numbers. It's something that we can ask them to do, maybe add that for us, but I noticed it too. I mean, it's really hard to figure out where you're at if you're not familiar with the numbers. So now on the budget summary report, it does have those labels. So
when it shows, okay, so let's just go very first page 1, if anybody's looking at it. Just going across the line, it shows the transaction description, it shows the date, it shows the claim, the warrant, the amount, and the balance. What does the balance refer to?
Well, it's a running balance of the balance to date less any transactions. So it just keeps a running total.
Of the budget?
Of that line item, yes. So that is the county judge salary line item.
And that's year-to-date expenditures?
Yes, except that the whole first quarter is not in there.
Well,
So,
okay, it just
yeah.
didn't,
So everything that you see on, under that line item is just what happened in April. And the transactions to date, that's 0 because there is no history in there. So normally you would see year to date right there. And then the balance to date, it would just carry over and then keep a running total. It's really confusing to me because the history's not in there, but I mean, I think
You think the history will help?
well, it just makes it, I mean, when you're looking at this, it looks like, you know, hardly nothing has been spent in almost all of these lines, and
that's,
you know, we know that's not the case, so.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna skip way ahead because it's just an easy one to look at where there's big dollars being spent. The road department's always, you know, very active this time of the year. Page 76, if you can get to it in your expenditures. And on page 76, there's just one that I noticed this morning when I was going through it, our gravel budget. So it shows the gravel budget account and account number. The budget amount is in heavy black type is $250,000. Transactions to date, and it's showing $4,078.69. And then all the way over to the right, balance to date, $245,921.31. So is that the amount of money that's supposed to be left in that account, or is that the amount of money that we spent, or?
Okay, so most of these line items will not have anything in transactions to date.
Okay.
The ones that do, it is because we actually tried to go to this new software in February. We did 1 week, and then the snowstorm hit and put us behind, and so we had to stop. So the transactions that are in there that are showing up in that section are just from the week of February 5th.
Right, okay, so they're all in
Okay.
April, okay.
So
Well-
everything that's listed, the actual detail, that's just April. And then anything that shows up in the transactions today, that's from February. But yes, the original budget amount was $250,000. In February, or on February 5th, we spent $4,078.69 that week. So it just takes the original budget amount, less any transactions to date, and brings the balance to date over in the far right.
So that should be what would be, when it gets all current, that'll show us how much money we got left in that line item.
Before all these transactions.
Okay.
So that would be at the end of March. That, if it was correct, that would be the end of March.
Oh, I see, oh, because you're right, it doesn't add correctly.
What page?
And then it just.
76 and 77.
And then it just keeps a running total of April, and then when you get to the bottom of that, it says, you know, your line total
Right,
and how much was spent this month. So you just-
191,150 in this case.
Yes.
Okay, I got it now. So that's, okay.
This will be a little plainer and more understandable once we get everything imported over and get completely switched over.
Yeah, I think so. It's been interesting.
With that, guys, I really, looking at the April expenditures, we're in line, everything's going well, and we're pretty well in line. The one thing I did want to point out, Judge, on your, we went through this last year a little bit, on the line item balances in your road department budget, we've blown out the gravel, which is great as far as I'm concerned. And we had the option last year of fixing it as we went, or just waiting until the end and fixing it all at once. And at that time, your preference was just fix it all at once. You still feel that way? Is that okay?
I'd go either way.
Um,
I don't think that it makes a difference.
We asked the auditors and it didn't, as long as it was fixed by the end of the year.
Yeah,
So if that's okay,
I'm agreeable with that.
we'll just wait and, you know what you got.
Yeah.
So if it gets too bad or something, if we get scared, we'll call you.
Okay, we've got about all of our stockpiles ready.
Have you? Well, right now, I think we're 334, 352, through the end of April. 334,000. Like I said, that's great. You know, and you got the money, all we gotta do is switch it out of one of the other line item accounts, and as long as the auditors don't blink, we don't either.
That'd be fine with me.
Cool. All right. Anybody got any questions about it for Kelly? Y'all wanna, anything as far as the form of it, or?
So normally the transactions, would that just be this month's transactions?
Like that second column,
At,
the transactions
or, yeah,
today.
just the kind of what's listed?
You wanna look at it?
Yeah, would that just be for the 1
Are you talking
month?
about in the bold print before the detail, or, I guess?
Yeah, just like this part right here, like these, will this just be for 1 month?
Yes, that is just 1 month. All of
Okay.
that detail is just 1 month.
Okay, and then so, but over here, transactions today would have year to date?
That would be year to date before these transactions,
Before
this
those
month.
okay, and then
Yes.
they would subtract, and then this number would ideally be this number? Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm going around the circle the right way. Okay, perfect.
Guys, anybody else have questions? Right now's a good time to ask. It's not the only time, but it's a good time. Judge, you got any questions about the new form or anything, sir?
No, but I like it. It looks good to me.
I guess, Kelly, eventually it'll change over to where we can see that it'll be different departments rather than the account numbers, because I wouldn't even have an idea. I mean, you can kind of tell.
You
when
talking about
look
in the
at-
detail?
Yeah, like.
That's
just
something that
seeing
they're gonna
account
try to
numbers
add
and-
maybe, or we can
I
ask
mean, we
them.
can ask, but, you know, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can send everybody a list of account numbers until, you know, until they either get it changed or.
I guess you kinda- Once you start looking at the transactions, then you can kind of
You
say.
can tell what's going
You can tell
on,
which
yeah.
department it
And that's,
goes to.
that's exactly why I went and did like this and just put it by department, and, you know, the landfill is 84 through 90 and jail was 105 through 114.
Right.
I was just kind of making up my own little list right there to kind of help me keep up.
But it doesn't show the percentages like it did before.
It will on the, it will
Just
on
that other
the
report.
summary.
Yeah, the summary.
Yeah, and that'll be right, year-to-date percent used, percent left. Month-to-date percent used.
Mhm.
It's just once they just don't have January, February, March, all that information in here. So right now, those last three columns are not accurate.
Ah, okay.
Once they get all those expenditures in there, then it'll actually kick over, and then it'll show that, hey, we're 33% into the year,
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm. Okay.
And we want everybody to understand it, because we want everybody to be able to look and, you know, see what we're doing and have questions. We're right back to the transparency, you know, of everybody being able to see and ask questions.
Okay, I just got the report, so I'm looking at it now. So we'll have month-to-date transactions, and I'm on that summary report. We'll have the month-to-date actions, year-to-date appropriations. Those will all come in like appropriations. Month-to-date expenditures, that's just what's spent in April.
Mm-hmm,
Year-to-date, that will normally be what's for the entire year.
mm-hmm.
That's their original budget, and now we've got what's left over and the percentages. of it.
Yeah, this is very, very plain summary there. I think
So
that's,
once we get
Yeah, once
everything
it's-
caught up, it'll be-
Balances
I'm like-
correctly, you know what I'm saying? I think it'll make a lot more sense.
yeah, I'm like Judge Nelson,
Yeah.
I like it. And
Yeah.
you're not trying to go through 115 pages every time.
No, unless you just want to see something.
Unless you just want to.
Yeah, that's right.
If
yeah.
you want to, you
Well,
can.
know, if something looks strange there, then you can see what's over there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but it's, 8 pages is a lot quicker to look at and get a snapshot than having the file, flip through and go through
And
everything.
actually, it gives you the account detail, like for a county judge, his is 1,000 If you flip back over to the other one, 1,000 is the
You can
very
tell what it
first
is.
one
Thank
for
you.
salary. So it's giving you the
Yeah,
account
you can see
number.
what, yeah.
And your account number is on the summary page. You can look at it and see.
So you can
So you
relate.
see, like, you.
Yeah, so you
Uh-huh.
could use that one to
You just have to
cross-reference
ignore
it.
the first
Yeah, like this, I mean, like it is.
two numbers on there, those three numbers in the last one.
Every, what's this like a I mean, it really is, it's like every transaction.
Every check, every
Yeah.
warrant, every
Well,
check.
yeah,
That's
like,
exactly
yeah,
right.
The voids, did you see the void? I mean, there's
It's your,
voids.
it's your, what is that?
Everything.
QuickBooks.
You want to see how much travel you got?
It's your QuickBooks
No, I mean, yes, eventually, I mean, I think it will be, it'll be a much better report. I think so.
Guys, if you're ready to move on, as long as I'm picking on Justice Jackson, she had an appropriation that she wanted to bring from energy and property.
Oh, yes. So Energy and Property met last week. The architect, Aaron Ruby, brought us up to speed on what's going on with the courthouse project. We're still moving along pretty well. One thing, the recommendation from the committee was to appropriate an additional $750,000 And that'll bring us back up to right at that $1 million mark to, for the expenditures for next month. Let's see, anything in particular that we, I don't think there was really much discussion about a lot.
Sign up, get the police department.
Oh, yes, thank you, Betty. So, yes, there was also the recommendation that we do not purchase the Blytheville Police Department.
Just a statement of fact, and
Just a second,
just a
yes,
motion. It
that
wasn't.
we're, yeah, that we're not interested in purchasing it. Does not mean that we're not interested in doing something, but we're just not interested in purchasing it at this time. So,
They were wanting to sell it.
yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with this committee, but also in your committee, y'all came up with a resolution that you're gonna bring to the full court about doing something with the old copper.
Yes.
Yes.
That doesn't go, that comes straight from your
Yes.
committee, doesn't come to
Yes,
here.
that was coming straight from our committee, that we would like to kind of make sure that we've got all of the copper back. Aaron was going to double check and talk with Renaissance Roofing about making sure that they had returned it all. We were going to see how much there was. I think that's kind of a number one thing, and then see about going ahead and selling it or getting rid of it.
Part of the reason for that was to show, people are questioning, did we put all new copper? If we bought more new copper than we had old copper, we definitely put all new copper up there. So, it answers a couple of questions for folks that have them from the south end. And it also then directs it. I mean, copper was, last week, was a couple of weeks ago, selling for $5 a pound. Scrap copper. I can't imagine how much was up there. I won't even try. But,
Yeah.
unless we got something special they're gonna do with it, we need to get rid of it while
Sell
the
it.
price is high.
Right, and I do believe, and
Put it back in
like I said,
Osceola.
Aaron was
Yeah,
gonna
put it back in
discuss that
Osceola
with them and
courthouse.
get an exact amount of how much copper was put back on, so.
Yeah,
He's gonna find out
invoices.
about the cupola too.
Right.
Because I don't think we have that either right now.
Well, they said they had a cupola and it's one of the scrolls they took
Mhm.
up there. So he's gonna check on, make sure we get both of those back.
Mhm.
That way we can see exactly how much was up there. I'd rather answer the questions from the
Mhm.
south end first, but I think that money needs to go right back into that courthouse. There's still a lot of work that
gosh,
needs to be
yes.
done down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So out of all of that, you're
Sorry.
asking for a $750,000 appropriation ordinance.
Yes, yes.
Y'all get that? $750,000 appropriation ordinance. We were looking at the transition over to the new software. The old software contract is coming to an end, but we're not complete. And so Kelly, you wanna discuss, you need an extension?
We do, and I guess the least amount of time that they will extend it is 6 months. So, and that's what we did this last time, we had to extend, it was gonna run out in November.
Mhm.
It did run out in November, and we extended it, and it will run out at the end of May.
How many offices are involved?
It's just my office.
Just
It's
yours?
Finance, yeah. It's all of the accounts payable, it's general ledger, capital assets, payroll. We still need access to all of it. I mean, once the contract's up, we lose everything and we don't have everything imported or, we're still having to go to the old system for a lot of things, reports, information, yeah.
15,000?
It's a little bit under that, but it's like 14,009 something.
Do we have that appropriated, or do we need to appropriate that?
It is not in the budget, no.
Okay. So what she's asking for is appropriation for $15,000 to extend the software, the old software contract while they're continuing the transition. Any questions or discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Got a second that will appropriate $15,000 in financial management for the extension of the old software contract. Any other discussion? All in favor? Cool. We put Justice Jackson on the top spot. Let's put Justice Fleeman on it for just a second. You met with your committee and y'all talked about the wellness program and a
Yes.
$10,000 some kind of deal. You want to discuss it?
Cigna has given us $10,000 in the wellness funds, and the committee voted to proceed with that incentive program. And we needed to know if finance wanted to appropriate it or clean it up at the end of the year.
What do y'all, what your committee, did they have a preference?
There didn't seem to be a preference. It was
Judge, you
really up to this committee.
You know what they're talking about? The $10,000 and the employees can earn it. There's a
It's gift cards.
gift card deal and they gotta meet some requirements to get the gift cards.
Yes, there's I believe there were 2 requirements. One was to complete the MyCigna registration. What was the other one?
The health assessment.
That was the
That's
health
right, yeah.
assessment.
And there won't be any money, spent out of that, possible account until the end of the year, is that right?
I don't,
It'll be July, mid to
think
late
it's
July, but
twice a year.
Cigna, we had a phone call with Cigna after the insurance committee met, and we told them that if we were to spend it, the way they reimburse us is like a credit on the bill, which
Okay.
is kind of a nightmare because we pay the bill every month based on the employees and their departments. So we would, they would just credit the bill and then we would have to figure out what departments.
How to break it down
Yeah.
or whatever.
So just to keep that from happening and us having to spend time doing that, they said that there was maybe an option where they could actually purchase the cards for us. Then that would eliminate the reimbursement and all of that. So we may not actually have to spend any money. We don't know for sure yet. It'll, probably be in the next week or 2. He's supposed to be checking on it. So we're gonna see if that's a possibility. That will be easier on our end.
yeah.
Doesn't sound like there's any hurry, Justice Fleeman. Would it bother you and your committee if we just waited and let y'all figure out?
That's fine. We can just wait on it and see. Yeah, until we get some news on that.
Is that okay with everybody? We'll just wait and it'd be a lot better if they'd spend the $10,000 rather than we spend the $10,000.
If they couldn't do that, and it's gonna be a headache for them, I mean, isn't this something we get like twice a year? Or is there a
I think it
second
was
part
like
to
5
this?
and 5, was it? Or is it 10 and 10?
I think whenever they met,
believe
I
it
mean,
was,
met the requirements, man.
I thought it was
Yeah.
too. I
They
thought
have
maybe-
until
was-
the end of June to do those 2 steps, and then Cigna can produce a report for us like mid-July or so, and tell us who met those requirements. And then we were gonna purchase the cards, and then see what was left over, and then that would go to, some other kind of event type thing, if there was money left over, like at the end of the year.
My
at the end of the year, it'd be
understanding was
great.
we could give out the cards, or we could have it where like in December, we could pay their insurance premium, or reimburse them for their insurance premium since we pay it.
I didn't think we could do that. I didn't think that was,
Or was that
But
like
it was
one?
very specific on
Yeah, no, I
how the
thought-
money had to be.
Give to the person.
Yeah.
It has to go
But even
through.
in December, it'd be great for them for.
Well, what I was thinking was, if you have to do that, wait in December and pay it that way to the people that, because it's specifically for people that did their health wellness benefits. I won't sign up so that way I don't get it.
I won't get it.
Okay, then we're gonna table the action on the, coming out of the insurance committee until we see exactly how Cigna's gonna follow through with their plan. Juvenile, the juvenile department has come to us with a request. They have an at-risk youth program where they provide counseling and services to youth in the county. They have gone to the juvenile judges in the second judicial and requested $2,500 that would be used for, I don't know exactly how you'd say it, entertaining or feeding the youth during their counseling sessions, and then $800 to cover mileage, $1,700 for the food, $1,800 for mileage for the course of the rest of the year, and for any special guest speakers that may ask for mileage. But they asked the juvenile judges for $2,500 to be appropriated in a special line item called at-risk program. And the judges, I got an email from Judge Richard Rusty. Good afternoon, Darrell. The other juvenile justices and judges and I have considered the request outlined in your email of April 7th. We agree that the proposed expenditures are an appropriate use of funds and approve the request. So with their approval and a motion from this committee, we'll appropriate $2,500 of juvenile funds into a new line item called the At-Risk Youth Program.
we're just moving, we're just moving it from,
Just moving it, yeah, just
Okay.
appropriating it. They've got the money, we just don't have an appropriation.
gotcha. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second from Justice Fleeman, that we appropriate $2,500 in juvenile funds and create a new line item titled the At-Risk Youth Program.
Is it for the juvenile service fund, or you want it in county general?
Juvenile Service Fund.
The 3031?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Please. Any discussion, guys? Any questions? Darrell, I asked Darrell if he wanted to come, and he was tied up. He said he could if he needed, but. Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. I'm gonna open up that the Osceola Health Department has a need for repairs. Are you aware, Judge, what's going on down there? They just need to do some work, and they think
Which
it's
one?
going.
Which one was it?
Well, we've appropriated some money, but they don't have enough, or they're afraid that they'll go over. $9,800 appropriated for building and grounds maintenance and storm damage. They had some storm damage down there that was over $7,000, and in getting the work done, they were concerned that they might not have enough, and would we back them up? And so they're really not asking for a specific dollar amount, they're just wanting to know, do they have the support of the quorum court? So with that said, I want to talk a little bit. Judge and I have not had an opportunity to talk at all about this American Rescue Fund. Well, I surprised everybody the other night because we weren't sure how quick we needed to act. The COVID money, Judge, the fallout stuff that we made the new line item for the other night.
Yes.
It appears that all the correspondence is added or aimed at the county judge's office and the county treasurer's office. So guys, what's happening is President Biden pushed through a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Fund package. And that's trickling down. I mean, the states are getting some, the counties are getting some, the cities are getting some, the schools are getting some. So every entity has some money, seems like, coming to it. It's specific and it's not specific. The guidelines that have come out so far, have you read them or looked at
No,
them?
I have not.
151 pages long of the guidelines that we have to follow in using these funds. But the county, Mississippi County, is getting about $7.9 million in these funds. And they're supposed to be designed towards COVID type relief. And particularly, they'd really like to see it aimed towards infrastructure. So we're going to get $7.9 million. It's not going to come at one lick, but the way the initial act came out was the first check was supposed to have been written within 60 days of the passage of the act, which was actually March the 11th, which would have made the check May the 11th. But there is a process that we have to go through to get that. And so the last check in the process has to come within 12 months after the first check. And anytime you want to jump in here, jump in.
No, that's probably all I know about it.
Well, so we know that we're going to get 7.9. We know it has to be spent in specific ways and items. Looking at the newspaper, and just for fun, I just brought this one. This is out of Jonesboro, and it just shows a lot of the counties around us and how much they're getting.
Yeah.
Like Jonesboro, the city, is getting $15.5 million. Craighead County is getting $21.5 million. Yeah. Now some of the counties, like Clay County, is getting 2.8, Cross County 3.1, but it's just, and so it seems like everybody's kind of getting together as a group and then formulating plans, ideas, thoughts, possibilities of what could be done with the money and how they could justify the money and the expenditures. And then I think everybody will end up working through a priority plan and see how far their money goes, Judge. In this program, it designates that you have to have a signer, which sounds like and should be the CEO that would be responsible in the primary, but then there has to be a secondary contact person and associated with the signer. And since everything's been directed between you and the county treasurer, we were wondering if maybe you could be the signer and the county treasurer be the contact person. Now,
Oh, I think that'd be fine.
but that you know, kind of puts the B on you, and you in direct line here and fire and all. There's so many different ways that I think we could use it, and the reason I was going to this, the health unit, I think, now this is me personally, and then there's been a little bit of one-on-one discussion, just casual, friendly discussion, but updating our county health units. You know, you and I have talked about how much work needs to be done at places like that. I mean, there's just a myriad of ideas. The senior citizens program, you know, we bought them one van, and this is just ideas, but we bought them one van for $42,000, and it was like a windfall for them. But they have multiple vans that are getting old. They're building, they don't own their building here. I don't know that may or may not be a possibility, but something that if we worked on, I don't know if we'd want to build them one or buy them one or what, but just those kinds of thoughts and plans and processes are,
I think those capital investments would certainly be appropriate, any of those.
and we've got 3 years to spend it. A little over, actually. We can go to the end of 2024. So it's not like we got to do it today or tomorrow or anything, but you know, we can start the process of putting together ideas and thoughts and asking for community leaders' input as much as they'd want. I'd say, you know, your office would be a good contact point for any community leaders that had thoughts and ideas.
Absolutely, and I think we probably need to begin making an assessment of some of those assets we have, like the buildings.
I think capital expenditures would be just an excellent place, long-term, long-lasting. I mean, we can fiddle the money away a little, you know, a can at a time and end up with nothing at the end of the thing, or we can do positive, hardcore steps that would improve county services in a lot of different ways. And you know, I don't think it ought to be a one-man show for any of us. I think all of us working together would probably bring the best output.
And since you brought up the health departments, I'd like to say Christine has done an excellent job with helping make sure she maintains those buildings through grants and other sources. The Blyville unit has been painted. I believe also the Osceola unit has been painted, so I'm talking about the insides. So she's doing a really good job, but yes, there's other needs that certainly need to be addressed there on either one of those buildings.
Well, you know, everything we just kind of mentioned could easily be related back to COVID relief and recovery. Even the coroner's office, we bought him one van, but it's supposed to cover the whole, you know, county. And I don't know that he needs a second van, but that he could use one.
Yeah.
You know, just different ideas and thoughts like that in areas that we haven't had the money to use. I'm hesitant to call this a windfall, but it is some extra monies that we have available with limited areas that we can expend it in. So, and it could give us some relief in other areas.
One of the things that y'all might look at and think about in life is the new air conditioning system and heating system is independent for each room. So you don't have cross ventilation between the offices that we've had in the past. That's one of the things with COVID that they look at is the possibility of looking at your ventilation to help reduce the spread. So you might look at your health units, the jail, the county courthouses, the Osceola, about ventilation systems that would help to self-contain each office. That way Janet's office isn't infecting Peggy's office or...
That's mentioned in this
That would,
book.
because when I read it, I couldn't think of anything we could use it for, and sitting here when y'all said that, That makes sense.
Well, I think the new courthouse
We need
did
to
set up like that.
update
That's
the
what you're
system in
saying.
Osceola
That's where he's
anyway.
coming up.
Okay, sorry.
That's where he got the idea from.
And Osceola, and I've been trying to
But you can't
get
do central heat in there.
hot water there. They don't have hot water in that building.
Really?
Where?
Osceola.
Osceola Courthouse.
Definitely need to get that fixed because
Oh
by
my
Department-
gosh.
Arkansas Department of Health standards,
Oh my
you
goodness.
have to
It feels
supply
like
hot
I don't
water.
think
I
it's
know how to
ever
get
been.
To be-
Well, this might be an opportunity to,
help
correct
reduce
some
the
of that.
spread of COVID.
Well,
Because
I agree.
I think
hot
I mean,
water,
that's
cold
all.
water wash your hands.
It's not sanitary.
Cold water in the courthouse is so cold.
But that-
So what you're saying, it's been like that for a minute, huh?
we all
At least
know
30
that's
years,
gonna
what
be a
Janice
big
has said too.
expenditure.
Ever since it was
And I
built,
think
it's always
that's
been cold
something
water.
we could Definitely look at using hard
all right.
We've never had, we have never had hot water in there.
We've
always wanted it.
Never had hot water that I know of.
It would also help us to get control of the
course, back
humidity in
then-
the Osceola courthouse, so that we, once we get all these leaks stopped, we might not have to do other repairs because of humidity. That comes from having to do too much with heat and air. Sorry.
So you're talking about doing away with the boiler and everything and putting central air in the Osceola courthouse?
I think the judge has to look at that and see if that is a possibility, but I
think that was the next step.
I think that's one of the things you
Yeah.
have to get, or should be looking at.
It'll be more than that to do it, cause you gotta run all
And
those
the 7.9
wires
is
and all
just
that
the
stuff.
county
That
gets it, the
stuff's
city's
not
got,
bad.
is getting their own,
I
each
think
city is getting
yeah,
their own.
it'd be a chunk.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. The cities are getting their own.
And maybe some projects we can collaborate.
And the schools
with
are,
the-
Bible got 14
You gotta
minutes.
run all
Oh,
those
wow.
things.
That was the.
They got one.
Yeah, that was in the paper.
Wow.
Each school system-
Gospel got 4 million.
That was the next.
I'm not sure what Osceola does. I don't know anybody on the board down there
It
anymore.
would help to.
We should have water heater.
Well, there's-
Yeah, really,
Yeah.
that's unacceptable.
I mean, this banking system out there.
Hot water heaters ain't in there.
No, they're not.
I'll have to find
It's
out. I didn't see anything
eliminating
in the paper mentioned.
cross-contamination.
A lot of them don't know what they're, a
You're
lot of them
actually
don't
gonna
know.
have a unit sitting in your
They're
office.
just
Well, I know
learning.
And
they
the
had
only place
said
that air is
in the
gonna
paper
circulate is
They were
in
getting
your
it, but
office.
they never
Yeah.
mentioned it.
It'll
They
never
mentioned
go
how much, but I'll find out today. 'cause
Well,
they
and they
can't
also
tell me.
make like a filtration system. You can't,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? And that would probably be, and like some of the other buildings would be.
Judge, this,
Solved and trying
It's
to.
gonna
Do
see
the
what.
separate-
we
this,
can
this
do.
thing came in an email, and I think you're on that email chain. I think it came to your office. That's got a summary. Guys, I've got a summary if anybody'd like one.
Yeah.
If anybody would like the book, I'll be glad to see that you get a copy or get it forwarded to you by email, if you'd like to read that. But there is a process. Peggy, you've been kind of reading on it, I've been reading on it, and I think you've been reading on it some. So the next steps, to your knowledge, we need to designate, make sure that we get the judge designated as the contact, the signer.
The signer.
Yeah, and then with the judge's approval, get you designated as the contact.
Yes.
And so how do we do that? I know you read part of that.
Well, there is a portal that came, on the email to me, and I can go into that portal and submit, him for the signer, and that it also requires our taxpayer ID number and the Dun Bradstreet number. I understand for the contact person, they're just about required.
They require a lot of personal information on that, don't
Your
they?
firstborn.
Now, what about the signer? What about the judge?
The way I understand it, that you will, you and I will need to get together and you'll need to be there or close by, someday whenever we do this, so that you're gonna have to sign something,
But they don't ask quite the amount of personal information, do they?
Not from you, no, it will be from me.
Not that that matters to you, it might, but,
No, it doesn't.
uh,
I don't know what they're asking, but I wouldn't think so.
I mean, it's terrible, the information they ask for, I think. I mean, they want passport information, they want to take some kind of picture. some of you.
Well,
Make
that-
sure you don't run away with 7.9.
I mean, they won't like.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, yeah.
I haven't either, and I don't have
No.
a passport, so.
No, I've never had one.
You don't mind.
Background information.
They're gonna know everything.
Don't figure that.
So- Judge, we're not trying to catch anybody off guard, and seriously, you and I just haven't had time. I've been busy, you've been busy. You got thoughts on what you'd like to see process-wise and starting to put together a list of potential projects? And I mean, I think we just all need to work together. Of course, they'll have to be appropriated here, but I think we can all come to some really good stuff here.
Oh, yeah, well, I think the quorum court, I think if everybody will think, individually and come up with some ideas, then we'll pool our information and then build a plan. Like I said, we've got 3 years to spend it, so
It's not like we gotta do it tomorrow,
that's right.
but at least we can get the thought process going. And I really don't want to get in too big a hurry, because I'm just always scared if I spend too much today, there's gonna be something even better come
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow. But we don't want to lag back too much. So,
Like I said, it is an unexpected revenue source that we have, but I'm sure when we start putting ideas together, that 7.9 will go, it won't be near enough.
yeah, it'll go quickly, that's what I'm thinking. That I think we have a rare opportunity here to make a difference for the future.
I do too.
So, you got anything for us today, sir?
No, I don't. It's been a pretty quiet Monday for me.
I think we've gotten everything on my list. Kelly, do you have anything else that I haven't covered?
Cindy was asking about a resolution for.
We don't need it.
Okay, okay.
Was that on the new hire?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, you and I talked about
Right, we
that.
talked about it, we don't need it.
Yeah, the veteran service officer,
Oh, yeah.
you'd said
Well,
something about possibly needing one, but you had an open position that's already funded and everything?
Right, and one reason I wanted it, or I mean, it doesn't, the resolution doesn't make any difference one way or the other, but I did want to make the announcement that Dale Dickerson has been chosen as the new veteran service officer.
Excellent.
And I think he'll do a good job. He's from Manila. Nick Bertucci, which is the regional director, came down and interviewed everyone that had applied, and he made the decision on who he thought would have been the best candidate. All of them were exceptional. I was impressed with everyone's interview. I was able to sit in on that, and certainly was a hard decision to make, but Mr. Dickerson has been informed, and he'll be trained June 1st, and I'll be probably setting up a meeting with him sometime this week to get him keys to this building, security code, keys to his offices. I do need to look at that computer that's in there and find out if it's up to date along with the software. The regional director has asked that he had a computer that was up to date with Microsoft Office, a signature pad, printer, scanner, fax, and email account. He's going to do a certification online, which will make him certified with the state and federals. A phone with voicemail set up. Vacation and travel will continue to be the county's portion of that department. And he's got a gentleman that's going to assist him until he gets his feet really on the ground. We're excited that we've got somebody there right now, because we've had phone calls. Cindy has fielded, I guess, several of those that veterans was looking for our service officer, so.
I always give him Nick Bertucci's telephone number, and he's always been glad to help, so.
Cool. Sounds like you made a good hire.
I think he'll be very good.
Peggy, anything else that I cut you off on, or anything else you want to share on this American Rescue Fund or plan?
Well, you had mentioned one time about, maybe, like a committee, or, maybe the elected officials having input on.
I think every elected official ought to have input.
I know, like, I think it was, maybe it was the governor's office that said, they had elected to have a steering committee, put in
For the
place.
state.
For the state, yeah, to, kick around ideas about how to spend theirs. One thing I do kind of have a question about, I guess, like today at the chamber meeting, you were there and Janice was there. They mentioned broadband expansion, and that's another thing that's mentioned here that the money, could be spent for.
It is.
But, I mean, my question, I guess, is how many people are gonna be spending money on broadband expansion? I mean, that was in the state legislature that they were talking about today. That, they passed bills. Did they say that they had passed the bill to spend more money on that? So then do we wanna spend more money for broadband expansion? If they're gonna be doing, if they did that? There was something else that they mentioned today. What else was it? But, I was just wondering about stuff like that. If there's gonna be money coming from other resources, then.
We don't want to use that if we got other money coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, I forgot which one mentioned, I think it was Johnny Wright in his speech. He was the one that mentioned the broadband infrastructure, because that is one of the main points on here, is broadband infrastructure.
Weren't they talking, we were about a year and a half away from the broadband in the kind of rural part of the counties?
Right.
Yeah. But I think you're right, I think it is coming.
And Mississippi County Electric is planning to put it all over Mississippi County.
Right.
They're gonna run fiber everywhere.
Yeah.
So, that's, if it's gonna be that, the problem has been that a lot of the children, especially in the south end of the county, live far enough out that they can't get broadband. I don't know how long it's gonna take them to roll it out countywide.
They estimated 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I see we're about a year in now.
I know they said the area I'm in is in phase 3. I think they're still working in phase 1 and 2.
I heard that they finished around the
Power
hospital.
lines too that are running on.
That's
And then
probably
they'll kind of
phase
be
2.
moving,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed, well, it's coming from right up 150 into Yarborough, and then it will go back towards Missouri and out towards my neighborhood.
And with that thought, you can remember, I mean, schools also got quite a bit of money.
That's what I was thinking. That was the
They
other
would be
thing.
really,
When Miss Bennett came and asked for money for the children that did not have access for, maybe laptops and stuff in their home, when they were doing the virtual learning, that is specifically mentioned in here too, that you could use this money. But the schools are getting their own money.
They're getting more money than we are in many
I
cases.
mean, you don't want to overlap a lot of spending, I would.
But I think working as a group, that's the stuff that we can weed out.
Yeah.
And identify really where our money is best spent collectively.
Anyway,
So will you work with the judge then and getting on the portal and getting us set up so do we have to do that before we even get our first check?
yes.
Okay.
so it's coming to do that.
Harley, do you have anything? You've been awful quiet, sir.
I've got the same old gripe,
More money.
more money for the employees.
I understand. We're gonna get there. Miss Janice, you got anything, ma'am?
No, sir.
Are you in the election today?
We're ending early voting. Osceola will have election tomorrow. It would be the only one.
School board or?
School board.
Judge, you had a nice update in the paper, looked like, on the courthouse issue. Front page.
Well, I didn't see it. but-
Oh, did you not? I'm sorry, yeah. Had some nice pictures and stuff in there. Looked like a real good write-up and talking about, how we're moving forward and when we might get in. Anything you want to add?
No, except that we're on time and under budget. I think everything looks good. It really has not been as the bumpy road as I thought it was gonna be. We've just had some minor, I guess, challenges to overcome, and we've handled those. Right now, everything looks good.
One of these days, I was thinking about it the other day, driving by and looking at the courthouse, and then thinking how successful the transition was out to Burdette, considering the magnitude of the project. And we'll all look back one day and say, wow, do you remember when the courthouse was out at Burge?
Yeah. Yeah, and that transition went fairly smooth. I'm glad I didn't know all the challenges before we started it. But,
Well, just another part of Mississippi County history.
yeah,
Ignorance is bliss sometimes.
it's been a good facility, and of course, the college was, they were instrumental on allowing us to use that campus at rent-free. So it was a community effort, everybody pitched in, and right now, like I said, everything is going smoothly. I'll be glad to get moved out of there and into Blytheville as soon as we're able, but.
I hope we get to have at least one meeting of the court in Blytheville, in the new Blytheville courthouse before we shift back down to Osceola for a year.
Now, they did move the date back a little, or forward a little bit into October, is what it looks like. I don't know if they'll need that much time or not, but, oh, and I'll add one more thing. We do have, the one bump in the road right now is our elevators were being stored in a building in Atlanta, and Atlanta got hit by that tornado
Oh,
about
wow.
2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And they weren't able to get into the building and assess the damage yet. And so they don't know what shape our elevators are in. So that could be a potential problem, because as you know, the subcontractors are lined up. One has to get through with a particular job before another one can move in, so.
And I thought this was interesting. In the meeting last week, they were talking about the elevator, and they still were not able to get into the building. But our contractor and Mr. Brownlee both were going to really kind of investigate that. They wanted to make sure that they saw, what elevator was ours, with the serial number, with the damage, with the lack of, I guess, just supply issues that are going on. We want to make sure, and they're taking every precaution they can to make sure that we're not just kind of getting put on the back burner there. So.
3 elevators, they said, they didn't even know what, ours may have been over at the shipping department
Right.
waiting to
So-
be shipped, so we don't know.
Yeah, so hopefully, I feel like they're really looking into that, and they wanted to make sure if ours was damaged, that we're going to be put back to the front of the line, not just put back in somewhere else. So I think that, and they were going to leave those 2 windows out, I think, for an extended period of time to put other supplies in the building now.
Mr. Brownlee has been a big help.
They did, yeah.
He's serving as the consultant for the project,
He
and
was telling me that there was one particular contractor that was asking to have the elevators operational before he came in. So, he's really concerned about that. But he said they may have to make other arrangements because they are leaving those windows out.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay.
Judge, how come they cut so many trees? And I've got more people that ask me about those trees than anything else.
the trees were, when it went to a subcontractor, Cromwell and Associates, and there was an architectural landscape designer involved there that was put in charge of that.
Yeah.
And those trees were scheduled to be removed October 6, 2019. So it certainly wasn't, all that information was made available to anybody that wanted to see it.
Well, then the people ask, why did they cut those trees? Don't ask me.
Every one of them had there was a different reason for removing it.
Yeah.
Right. The only one that was added once the project started was, we did do a change order, and it came before the committee and we talked about it. There was one tree right there on the west end of the building.
Southwest
Right.
corner.
Yeah, that was encroaching on the building, and so.
It had already done some damage to the building.
So that was the only change that's been made to those plans from the original
I
part.
think we're gonna have to change one more. There's one out there alongside the street that was supposed to stay, but it is
It's
completely
noticeably
dead.
dead. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that, yeah. I think in some of the pictures, it looked like it may have gotten trimmed, but it's just
No,
that
it's
dead. Yeah,
dead.
it's just.
And I think our architect made that decision because they were already there, and rather than try to bring them back,
Yeah.
Now, they were telling me that there are gonna be some significant trees
They're probably
replanted
planting new
to
trees.
replace.
They're gonna take, right, they're gonna take there's a couple other things that'll come out, but I don't think it'll be anything
There
substantial.
are some trees that they were going to take out that are now going to stay. Mr. Ruby told me that at the meeting.
Guys, to wrap it up, we've got 3 appropriations to present next Tuesday night at the Burdette Courthouse. We have one for $750,000 from Energy and Property regarding the courthouse renovation project. We've got the $2,500 request out of the juvenile department for the youth program, and then we have the $15,000 request coming from financial management to extend the software contract. And so we'll present those 3 appropriations for your approval at Tuesday night's meeting. And Judge, you mentioned A&C and how key they were in offering the Burdette facility to us. I can't imagine Mississippi County without A&C and what they do for us. It's just
Absolutely.
one of the underspoken entities that we have in Mississippi County.
They've been very generous.
Oh, just key. Just key. Anything else, sir?
I don't have anything else.
Anybody else? Going once? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, guys.